Film is where?
I'll leave the next one with you.
This is the one that's partially used. See you later.
Good enough.
3,700. The meeting will come to order. Sorry about this, folks. You never know what to expect. Okay? Let us begin. Mr. Manager, what's first? Okay? Roll call. Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Jerry Merrill.
Here.
We're going to leave.
Here.
We're going to leave.
Mr. President, Joseph Frederick.
Okay.
President Gloria Gersh. Paul Pike is absent.
Mr. Frederick is not
Mayor is
present.
present.
My wife is very fearful now.
Oh, bullshit.
So we're leaving.
Aren't you afraid?
Mr. Wolf, are you present or you're not present?
I'm present.
Okay. I know, but Mr. Frederick said he's not present. He's leaving.
I didn't say I was
Well,
present. I'm out of here.
yeah, he's out of here.
He's a board member?
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
He's a board member.
All right, you're right.
Yes, sir, you're here.
Okay.
The quorum has been established.
Okay, thank you. All righty, now we have the minutes of the previous meeting.
He's going by yourself as far as I know.
Okay, we have the minutes of the meeting of September 7th to waive the reading of and approve. These were tabled until this meeting. I believe Mr. Stewart and, Mr. Scott and Mr. Wolf have rebuttal statements to Gloria's message, which they want to have filed with the minutes of tonight's meeting. Is that correct? You have your rebuttal that you want attached to tonight's meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
If you'll give it to me, it'll be attached to the minutes of this meeting. It's just, never mind. Thank you, will be attached to the minutes of the meeting. So may I please have a motion to waive the reading of the minutes of September the 7th and approve them as presented?
I make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes.
I second it.
Who seconded?
Oh, did Gloria you second it?
No, Gloria did not.
Okay, I second.
Okay, second motion by Ann and seconded by Jerry. Is the, do I call the roll or is it unanimous?
Just to call roll because I have one comment, and
All
that
right.
is, I'll
May-
waive it as long as I have a guarantee that Scott's papers become part of the minutes.
I just said they would, and I'm bound to. They're in.
Okay. If you're not happy, I'll go.
He's
I
not,
swear.
they're not sitting up.
So it is approved unanimously?
What?
No, it's not unanimous, Jerry.
I'm sorry.
Because I'm voting against it.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Linda DeKoff,
Yes.
Francis Mesereau, yes. Gloria Gershkoff,
No.
Paul Picus is absent. Ann Rosenson,
Yes.
Scott Samuels,
Yes.
Stuart Wolf,
Yes.
Joe Nero. Majority passed. Okay. Next, we have the minutes of our last regular meeting, which was on October 21st. May I have a motion to waive the reading of the minutes and accept them as presented?
I make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes of October 21st, is it?
There's October 21st.
And to accept it as.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Shall I call the roll, or is it unanimous? Unanimous. The next minutes are very, very brief, and they deal only with a motion that the board made at a meeting of October 31st, at a closed meeting with our attorneys. And at the meeting, the Pegasus matter was discussed, and the board authorized actions by the attorneys. May I have a motion to waive the reading and accept?
I make a motion to waive the readings and accept.
I'll second
Is it unanimous?
Is it unanimous?
Okay, looks unanimous.
Thank you all.
Okay. You done?
Yes, sir.
Please. Okay, this is the President's message. Good evening. We're living in difficult times. I wasn't around during the Great Depression, but comparisons are often heard today. Our President-elect, Barack Obama, whether you supported him or not, has led an inspiring campaign focusing on hope and change, which have become important concepts that need to be spread and encouraged. In times like these, we must work together more than ever. Turning to International Village, another month has passed since our last regular board meeting. In that time, a couple of significant events have occurred. The board has agreed to settle a Pegasus case and will discuss tonight how to apply funds that are received. Also, the board has accepted terms from its attorney, Katzman and Garfinkel, to proceed against Citizens Insurance for the balance of claims due from Hurricane Wilma. The association stands to receive an agreed minimum amount from the claim, which will be processed on a contingency basis, meaning there will be no cost to the association. There are additional challenges which must be met, and we can only do that if we focus on the issues and not on individuals. We need to agree on the 2009 operating budget. We need to determine if it is wise to put funds into reserves for future capital expenditures or to accept assessments when those funds are needed. We need to convert our line of credit with Wachovia into a mortgage so it can be eventually paid off. We need to find an answer to the divisive issue between owners who have been provided with association funds to repair their unit versus owners who have not received association funds to repair their unit. Other subjects need attention, such as security improvements, foreclosure assistance, and resident disclosure, but as of now, they have not been addressed. Hopefully they will in the near future. These real issues won't go away by spending our time focusing on personalities and attempting to denigrate them. Starting this evening, we will discuss issues only with the goal of getting a consensus so we can move forward. We must respect each other's opinions, and at the end of our discussion, a vote of the majority will determine the board's decisions. Thank you.
If I may, Howard wants to make a change in the agenda, and he'll explain why.
Good evening. Tonight we've got Mr. Ron DeCrescenzo with us. He's our CPA who prepares our year-end financials and so forth. And we've invited him here to discuss and to go over the proposed Wachovia loan agreement, the one that was presented to the board for review. Mr. DeCrescenzo was part of that meeting, the original meeting with the bankers a couple of days ago, with myself and Arta and Jerry, when they presented it, and we basically, Mr. DeCrescenzo would have a better feeling as the accountant of the issues that Wachovia has presented to us. I'm asking the board your permission to move this agenda item up now so Mr. Crescenzo can leave us in a very short while. Yes, sir.
Is Mr. DeCrescenzo a unit owner?
No, sir. He's invited by the board of directors to present.
I'm just
He's
curious.
our accountant.
Pardon?
He is our accountant.
He has been invited by the board to address the board and to address the unit. He's a welcome guest.
Business, he's allowed.
Welcome guest. Okay?
Any other?
I make the motion to
Move the agenda item?
move up the agenda item to now the discussion of the Wachovia loan, yes, our accounting loan.
Okay.
I'll second
Ron,
the motion.
I will turn it over to you.
Oh, do we have to?
Yeah.
Unanimous.
What? Is there a second?
I
I second it.
objection? No objection, unanimous. Okay, go ahead, Ron.
Okay, hi, good evening, everybody. Nice to be here, even though we had a little bit of disruption, but it got through that okay. I don't know, has everyone has anyone seen this? The board of directors has seen it. None of you knows. Stuart, you've seen it? Scott, you've seen it?
All the board has, been circulated to the board.
Well, basically, folks, what we have here is, well, Kobe is the bank that we've been dealing with. They gave us a line of credit about 2 years ago, and now they want to convert this loan into a permanent mortgage. In addition, Wachovia is being changed to Wells Fargo, probably starting next year. But this loan is with them, and then it'll just be transferred over. The biggest thing here right now is, I like to come right up front. We really don't have much, we don't really have an alternative at this point. We've gone out, we've asked 4 banks? 3 or 4 banks to give us a proposal on this loan, and they all did their due diligence, and they came back and said, we're not interested, okay? Mainly, it's a lot to do with the economy and what's going on with the mortgage industry and the financing industry. So that's part of it. It's not that you all are bad people or they feel that you're a big risk. It's just that they're very, very particular, and everything has to be perfect. So what we have now, the loan is approximately $5 million. Well, the loan is $5,544,702. That's the balance right now, and that's what they're going to convert into a permanent mortgage loan. But what they've offered is this: they will give us a 5-year loan, basically. They're going to amortize this over 15 years. Why 15 years? The payment that we collect from all the unit owners who did not prepay their assessment, that's what it's basically equal to. So we want to keep it around the same amount so there's no defaults or put more pressure on the association. As we know, there are some people who unfortunately cannot pay their assessments. They're losing their units, being first foreclosed by the bank, or we may have to foreclose on them. So this is why they came up with this amount. They're going to amortize it over 15 years, and the interest rate is 3.75 plus LIBOR. LIBOR is a formula they use, all these fancy things, but it's approximately about, I think they say about, well, then we get into a derivative, which is 7.23, which is not indicative of what they're going to give us. It could be less, or it could be more. So what they're doing, they're hedging their bet. They're giving us a lower rate in the beginning, which would be about 4.65, 4.75, about 4.80. But they put in there that at a certain date and time, they fix it, whatever it is, the rate could be 6%, could be 8%. Right now it's 7.23. We will have to make up that interest difference at that when that occurs, okay? After the 5 years, whatever the balance is, because it will be amortized just like your mortgage is amortized. Whatever the balance is at that point in time, they will either go ahead and refinance it again, or we're going to have to find another bank to take this loan over. Or pay it off, but more likely we'll get another bank to take it over. I want to stress to the board that, we've got to make sure that we start early when this loan becomes maybe 1 year from the days it's becoming due to 6 months. So we've got to have other banks come in and give us proposals. None of us know what's going to happen in 5 years. We don't know. No one could have even even predicted where we are now. One bad part is another bad. They want a commitment fee. The commitment fee is $10,000. When we were in the meeting, we all said, can that be negotiable? Can that be reduced? And they said, no, no way, this is what it is. This fee mainly is to cover their cost of putting this all together and the attorneys that they're going to use, their outside attorneys. So that's what that's really all about. The annual financial statement has to be delivered to them, so that's on me and on the management company. It's got to be done within 120 days after year end. If it isn't delivered to them on or before that date, the loan will be due and payable after that. Okay, so if the loan is whatever it is this year, say it's 5.3 million, we have to pay it off if we don't make that commitment. In addition, the accounts receivable aging they need, and the budget has to be delivered to them within 45 days after the close of each fiscal year. That shouldn't be a problem. Right, Howard? So those are one of the areas that we have to do. There's some other covenants in here I'm not going to get into unless you all have any questions about it. Regarding special assessments, debt service reserve, capital expenditures. They said we cannot spend more than $50,000 per year on capital expenditures without their permission. In other words, if something comes up and we have to spend $75,000, more like they said they would let us do that, but they just have to know ahead of time to get the proper approval from the powers that be. We cannot incur any further indebtedness in excess of $100,000 without, again, getting their approval. Encumbrances, they talk about, again, I'm going to avoid, shall not create, assume, or permit to exist any mortgage, security, deed, etc. That's all legal mumbo jumbo. Any prepayments of special assessments relating to this loan shall be maintained in an account maintained by their bank. In other words, any prepayments have to go into an account that's with Wachovia. It can't be with Sun Bank or Bank of America. They want to maintain they want us to maintain our primary depository relationship with them. In other words, the checking account. They want all the funds used to go through their bank. Prior minutes of boards, they want to see the prior 12 months minutes of all the board meetings. And I believe they said we have to give them an answer.
December 17th.
Right, thank you, Jerry. December 17th. And that's basically a summary of what we have. We had another bank who seemed like they were very interested, and we heard the other day that they decided not to pursue this loan, which is kind of good because they want us to. Right now, we have a great loan with SBA. It's a very low interest rate. This other bank wanted us to pay that off and pay them instead, which would have been a higher interest rate. So in a way, that was kind of lucky for us. Do any of the board members have questions?
Yeah, Ron, I just am wondering, the total loan amount, does that include the 600, is there the 600,000 we never took out, is that?
We don't know if we can take it.
No, we didn't take it, right. We never took it out.
The loan was reduced by that amount?
Exactly, right.
And the other thing is are we completely at their mercy? When do they, regarding interest and how high interest can go?
Well, this is what we all kind of learned, like, knew what derivative is. Everyone's heard the word derivative, and that's what this is all about. It's their way of making sure that they're not lending us the money at 4%, and it's going to cost them a higher rate so that they're losing money, basically. So yes, we are at their, in a sense, their mercy. But they don't know what the rates are going to be either. You know, none of us do in the next 2, 3, 4 or 5 years. So yes, we're kind of rolling the dice, but they are also rolling the dice.
So we have this rate for 5 years.
Basically, right. The biggest thing here, they want to make sure that we, senior associates, can pay back this loan with the amount. That's why they put a lot of provisions in here to tie our hands a little bit. But they also said they would work with us. Pardon me? Yeah. Yeah. But that's where we are, and Wachovia, is one of the largest banks, and they had their problems too. So they just want to make sure that they've got all their I's dotted and T's crossed on this loan, so that there's no, they don't want it to become a default. I don't think it will become a default. I think what they've done here is pretty fair, and a lot of things, I don't like the commitment fee. I'm not happy with that at all, but again, we tried to get that removed, and they just would not budge. Yes, Linda?
I just have another question. I know that they have said to us, unless we take action, either buying it out some other way by mid-December,
Right.
that we will go into default. And what I'm wondering, since Wells Fargo has taken them over, really, right? But I guess officially the name
Right.
change doesn't happen. Is that part of it for them? Because we have insurance with Wells Fargo. And the fact that it's going to be in Wells Fargo's hands, is that another reason why they're pushing it?
No, I don't think so. It's just coincidental.
Well,
I know.
Any difference to us?
Right. No, not really. They just want to get the loan buttoned up. I don't recall, when was this? This has been, Converge been hanging on for a while.
It was supposed to be
In June.
In June,
Right.
we had 18 months credit line, and we were supposed to convert it that time.
So, because everything's happening with that bank, they've kind of didn't stay on top maybe as much as they could have or should have. But at this point, we don't have any other banks that's coming into play. We've talked to 4 or 5 of them, and again, we're talking about the next 5 years. In the meantime, we don't know what's going to happen next year or the following year. We can always go out and pursue other banks at that time and get a better deal and pay this off and get a longer term, maybe a 10-year loan and amortize it over, again, maybe 15 years or even 10. As long as we can keep the rate of the amount that's being paid around the same amount. So it's no burden to the association.
Well, it sounds very important to take action.
What? Oh.
What,
Yeah.
what would the prepayment penalty be if we were fortunate enough to get it?
Well, that's one of the things, that they have in there. We're going to have to try to get that removed or make it very lenient, because I don't want to see us, and I think they will do that. As long as they can get this loan paid, I don't think they really care. But they do have a prepayment, which they didn't really address too much in here. But yeah, that's a good question. Good question.
That was my question.
Yes. Scott.
Yeah, I have a few questions. The deposit relationship, it says borrowers shall maintain its primary depository relationship with the bank.
Right.
Now, right now, KW Management is keeping our primary money. That means that would have to be switched over to Wachovia. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I would say so, yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Now, they say, in case people have prepayments, special assessment prepayments, any prepayments of the special assessment related to the subject loan shall be maintained in an account maintained with the bank. Proceeds may be used only to make payments to the subject loan as scheduled when due. Would that be an interest-bearing account or a non-interest-bearing?
It would be, and we discussed that too, it's a good question. We said, we also meant interest-bearing and the highest rate possible they could pay us. We mentioned
Another
that to them.
It says reserves.
Yes.
I think we got a concession. They said we could reduce our principal every 3 months, then they can change the payment every 3 months. And
No, that's not true.
We weren't allowed to change to pay to the principal.
No?
No. I think we asked them about it, but
Okay.
the reserves, yes, that's a good point. I didn't bring that out. Another kind of,
Reserves.
right.
A replacement reserve account is required to be maintained during the term of the loan.
Right.
Now, we know it'll be about $4.5 million, as according to the last budget, to have fully funded reserves.
Right.
A 10% funded reserves, which may be adequate, would amount to a 30% increase in maintenance. We went through this already.
Right.
Is that correct? Is that what they mean we have to have?
Well, they're kind of, they were a little wishy-washy on that.
Actually, what the understanding was, they want us to have enough money in our bank account to pay 2 months of their repayment. So basically, we need to have $100,000 in an account. Should we default, we've got 2 months payments set aside.
Okay, that is not for replacement of common elements or repairs or anything. This is just...
That's for their purpose.
Again, it's a safeguard for them because in case that the foreclosures keep coming.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, it has one more thing here. Capital expenditures. Borrower shall not expend on gross fixed assets in an amount exceeding $50,000 per year. Does that mean that we have a roof that costs $300,000, we can't fix it?
No, I kind of addressed that a little bit before, Scott. Again, a good question. But what they're saying is, if it is something like that, we just need to inform them as soon as we know about it, and they will more or less go ahead with it.
Well, what if they don't let us? So that we have to negotiate it? Why should we be fixed to $50,000? You can't fix anything to $50,000.
Scott, what we discussed with them at the meeting, seeing that we are getting a lump sum of money from the settlement, I said to them it's unfair to have that restriction over our money, which is in part or tied into this loan repayment. I think the provision they've got in here is that we do not touch that $100,000 that they want us to put aside to do any repairs and diminish that money. So what the guy said to us is basically, once we've got money set aside, when we let them know that we've got this money set aside for other things, then they really can't stop us from using it.
Okay. Now, we're going to get $945,000 on the Pegasus settlement. How does that figure into this equation?
Just as earlier, just that $100,000 they want us to put aside is what we'll have to put maybe into a CD or something to hold.
With them, of course.
We have to take the balance of the money and put it into one of their accounts.
No. It has nothing to do with, the rest of the money has nothing to do with them.
Why? They say all our money has to go into their, only the primary account.
All of our
the primary account.
All our income from
For the
maintenance.
collection of the maintenance and the assessment.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
A couple of questions. The first one is, when I read this, one thing that's missing is what officers were present there and why don't we have their names anywhere? And there's a lot of vague terminology. Did they give you business cards? Do we know who we're dealing with?
Yes. Yes, they did.
But it's not in their proposal.
No.
Why should it be? We're dealing with the bank.
Usually people sign their name when they make a proposal.
Okay,
all right.
That's a good point. Good point, Stuart. But yeah, they did.
Okay.
They all three.
That's
There were three of them,
now,
3 people
now,
there.
Now, if we follow this, they own us. Now, in my opinion,